I decided that I was going to do this video again like a year later, I was like, surely we're going to have less on the TBR. I almost read 100 books last year. We'll be fine. Besties, there's more books. There are more books on the TBR. Hello everyone, it's Belle. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hello, and if you've come back, thank you so much. Today, you guys, we are going to be going through my entire physical TBR. I actually think I did this video about a year ago now on my channel, and I literally just before starting this video went back and I looked and I was like, yeah, we're gonna have less books because like I'm so good like that. Let's just say that this time last year I had around 120 physical books on my physical TBR. I now have 237. Yeah. 237 physical books on my TBR. Now look, obviously a lot of these are books that I have purchased for myself, but of course over the last few years, you know, becoming a creator on the bookish space, I obviously have been sent very kindly quite a few physical arcs and, you know, books from new authors and what have you. So of course that has helped grow my collection even further, which I'm very, very, very grateful for. But I thought today would be fun to show you guys everything that I haven't read yet. You know what I mean? So without further ado, let's get comfy, let's get cozy, and let's get right on into this video. Okie dokie, so for I can't stand that being there. Guys, if I put a sticky note on that, is it gonna be distracting? I just can't stand the reflection. I think that's better. That's better, right? If you guys don't know, I use like those makeup palette organizers to hold my books up so I can stack them all behind. It saves space. But however, obviously with sunlight, they can sometimes be a bit shiny. So if we leave that there, should I put a smiley face on it? It has a smiley face now. Anyways, that's there to make sure we don't have any glare. So as I was saying, if you are new to my channel, you might not know this, but I do, of course, like to incorporate some statistics into all of my videos. So I thought, you know, as I was going through and counting all of the books I have in my collection, that we would break it down, I guess, in terms of genre. So as I said, I obviously have 237 unread books on my physical TBR. So I have 17 historical romances, I have 14 holiday romances, 21 small town books, 14 sports romances, 47 contemporary romances, and 26 dark romances, so that's just romance. Then I have 17 LGBTQ plus books, I have 14 thrillers, 53 romantasy books, and 10 general fiction books. You guys can see there's at least, I don't know, let's count that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 genres there. Obviously I've got some subgenres in there too. So I have quite a lot in the collection. So what I'm thinking of doing is honestly just starting from like top to bottom. The shelves are broken up into historical romance, holiday romance, dark romance, and so on and so forth as I just read that list out. So let's go back in time and let's start with my historical romances. Okay, so first couple of books, as I said, are historical romances. The first one I have is An Heiress's Guide to Desire and Deception. Nope, Deception and Desire. There we go, Belle. I actually put this on a TBR, I think 2 months ago, and I just didn't get around to it, but I did read another historical romance recently and I loved it. That's the first one. I then have The Gentle Art of Fortune Hunting. This is by KJ Charles. This is an MM, and I have yet to read an MM historical romance because you guys know I love MM, but this one just looks really good as well. It said, can a professional rogue earn an honest happy ever after? So I always love when I do this type of video that I forget the books that I have and I'm like, oh my god, these books are so slay. So that's that one. I then have The Unladylike Rules of Attraction. This is by Amita Murray. I was very kindly sent a copy of this from Avon as well. Pretty sure this one is about a young heiress who has to marry in order to like receive her inheritance or something like that. And again, set in that Regency period. So I am really keen to get to this one at some point. I then have Somerset Valley. This is by Jordan Kate Buck. I was very kindly sent this one as well. This one I remember she was saying to me is like Bridgerton, but with like time travel. Very keen to hopefully get to that one soon. Now, next up I have a huge stack of like mass market Julia Quinns and what happened. Actually, these are all Julia Quinn except for 2. So I'll quickly just like rapid fire through them. Mass market means the little small paperbacks that they don't really do anymore. I usually find all of these at like secondhand book conventions and things like that. For those who don't know, of course, Julia Quinn is the author of the Bridgerton series. So you guys know that is like my favorite thing in the world and I love her writing. It's just very, very good. So I have How to Marry a Marquis. This is just a special edition of It's in His Kiss, which is Hyacinth's book from from Bridgerton. I've obviously read them all already, but this one has the step back with like original artwork in it too, which is really nice. One that just slid off, I have Never Love a Highlander. This is by Maya Banks. I'm telling you, this is obviously going to be set in the Scottish Highlands, so I'm keen to read that. I have Lady in Red by Karen Hawkins. This one also had the step back. I just love them. When you find these guys, they are such a little gold gem, like with the artwork inside. It's so pretty. I have Lady Whistledown Strikes Back. Also by Julia Quinn. I don't know how she strikes back. I thought she was sort of done, but that's fine. I have What Happens in London by Julia Quinn. And then I have two, again, trad versions of the Bridgerton series. I have When He Was Wicked, which is Francesca's story, and I have The Viscount Who Loved Me, which obviously I've already read those, so they're just there because I've got no room anywhere else for them, so that's those ones. I've got some more little ones. I really do love these. If anybody who does live in Australia like knows where I can find these, I really love having them. I think they're a real collector's item. I have Everything in the Moon by Julia Quinn, Splendid by Julia Quinn. I have this book that I started reading, and if anyone's read it, please let me know. It's called Kiss Me Again by Margaret Moore. Again, how cute is that cover? I sort of read the first couple pages and I was like, eh? It just has a really good concept, but I didn't like the first couple pages. Then I have some books from Joanna Shoop's Fifth Avenue Rebels, which you guys might have seen in my last reading vlog. I read the second book. I have books 3 and 4, which is The Bride Goes Rogue, and I have The Duke Gets Even. These were so great, by the way. If you're looking for a historical romance author that's not Julia Quinn, highly, highly, highly recommend these. They were very, very fun. And finally, in the historical romances, I have Daring the Duke. This is by Sarah MacLean, and it's also got a step back. I've actually heard really good things about this author, and I haven't read anything by her before, so keen to get to this one as well. Okay, moving on to the next half of the shelf, I should say, is my holiday romances. So when I say holiday, I mean like seasonal. So I might have some Halloween fall time themed books. I've got a lot of Christmas books. Those are the books that I usually have on this stack here, so let me grab them. So first up is Casket Case. This is by Lauren Evans. I only actually recently bought this and I'm itching to read this, but of course I'm saving it for fall Halloween time. Most of these are my Halloween reads. I'm pretty sure like one of them sells caskets and the other one is like a hotline for something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I've got A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. This is by Sarah Hawley. I feel like I've had this on my shelf now for maybe 2 years, so I definitely need to read it this season because if I don't, it might be on the way out on my next Read It or Burn unhaul. I then have the 4 books from BK Borison's Love Light Farms series. I have already read Love Light Farms and In the Weeds, but I have yet to read Mixed Signals and Business Casual. I know that Business Casual is supposed to be the like fall themed one, and I think this is supposed to be summer, but again, I haven't gotten to those 2 yet, so hopefully soon. I've got The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, which again, I've been putting off. I'm just kind of scared to read this. I love The 7 Year Slip so much. It's like my one and only book that I've read by her. I know I need to read more, but of course, I'm sure I can read this at any time, but it obviously is about ghosts, so I would like to read this during Halloween time. And for the end of the Halloween books, I have This Spells Love. This is by Kate Robb. I just think that cover is so gorgeous. This says, have you ever had a breakup so bad you wish the whole relationship had never happened? Amen. It's gonna give me like witchy vibes for, you know, for Halloween. So moving away from Halloween, let's get my Christmas books. Guys, is anybody like me? I feel like as soon, my birthday's in August, it's on the 7th. And then pretty much at the end of August, I put my like Halloween decor out because I feel like 1 month is not enough. My favorite holiday is Halloween. I love Christmas, but Halloween just takes the cake a tiny bit more for me. Now for all of my Christmas books, the first one that I have is actually a transitional book actually, and it's called The Nightmare Before Christmas. This is by Sarah Rush. It says true love doesn't have a favorite season. I believe this is about 2 princes. One is the prince of like Halloween and one is the prince of Christmas. Come on, it's gonna be so good. Perfect again to bridge that gap between like Halloween time and Christmas time. I have How My Neighbor Stole Christmas. I remember when this came out last year, there was so many mixed opinions and thoughts and feelings on this because so many people were loving it, so many people were not loving it, and I guess it sort of deterred me, and I should never let that happen, but it did deter me from, I guess, reaching for it during that season. It's kind of big. I've only ever read one other book by Megan Quinn before. I didn't love it, but I'm hoping that this will change my mind. I've got 2 books in. I don't know what this series is called. I I read the first one last year, Holly Jolly Ever After and A Jingle Bell Mingle. This is a duet author situation where you have, I believe it's Sierra Simone and Julie Murphy. I read the first one. I've totally forgotten what the first one's called. I'm literally so sorry. A Merry Little Meet Cute. There we go. I read that last Christmas and I didn't love it, but of course I would like to try the other books in the series. I have Love in Winter Wonderland by Abiola Bello. I've got The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. Now, if you guys were on my channel last year, you would have seen that I read the what is that book called? The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. That's it. And I DNF'd it with like 70 pages left. I love a cheesy Hallmark movie as much as the next person, but I could not stand reading the characters and the way they were written. And I'm honestly so surprised, low-key, that there are so many of these books continuously being written. I believe there's like 6 different ones now. I have The Christmas Fix by Lucy Score. This is another situation again where I have read only one book by Lucy Score before and it was a DNF, so I'm hoping that this one changes my mind. And finally, for the holiday romances, I have The Antisocial Season. This is by Adele Buck. Pretty sure one of them's a librarian and one of them is a firefighter. That's from what I can remember. So you guys will have to stay tuned to see which one of these I hopefully get to this Christmas. Okay, moving down now to our general romance, but we are going to break them up again into those categories. So starting with small town romance on it's my right, but it'll be your left. The first 2 stacks there, I'm not going to pull them out because they're really hard to get back in. It is the Gold Rush Ranch series by Elsie Silver. So I have read the first 2.5 books in that series. Is a novella in between. And then I have the Bailey Brothers series by Claire Kingsley. It's another small town series. This is really good, but I've only read the opening novella. I need to continue and I've heard it's quite a large series too, but let me grab the next ones. Alrighty, so the next one I have here is Protect. This is by Paisley Hope, which you guys will know she's one of my favorite authors. She also writes dark romance, which you'll see a little bit later, and she's also written this firefighter, I want to say. They're firefighters or lumberjacks or something like that, so I really do want to try this. I know there is a book before this, but it's fun. I have Sunlight. This is by Devney Perry. I can't remember what this series is called. The Haven River Ranch series. There we go. I read the first book, which was called Crossroads, and I really liked it. It was like second chance childhood friends to lovers, which you guys know is my bread and butter. This one is supposed to be an accidental pregnancy, which I absolutely love and adore. Quite short too. I think it's on Kindle Unlimited, so hopefully I get to that soon. I was then also very kindly sent the Valentine's Bay series. This is by Samantha Lee, who is an Australian author. I have already read Ready for You, but I do need to read the rest of the series. We have Meant for You, we have Perfect for You, and Only for You. I really loved the first one. I just need to get back into the world, so maybe at some point I'll sit down and just smash all 4 of them out at once. In this next little stack here, I think this is the last of the small town romances. As I was saying as well, guys, obviously if I don't have room for a lot of books that I've read on my like read shelves, they do sort of end up here. So I have got a copy of The Other Brother by Tierney Page. I was very kindly sent an early EPUB of this too before Tierney was traditionally published, and Hachette have very kindly sent me an ARC copy. If you guys have not read this yet, please do. It's so wonderful. I was so impressed. Tierney is a close like mutual of mine. We've been sort of friends on socials for quite a few years now, and she's just so lovely. Next up I have Beneath the Stars. This is by Emily McIntyre, which I was so surprised to see that she is writing. I think this is classed as like a small town emotional romance because usually she writes a lot of dark romance, if you guys know the Never After series. So I was very intrigued to see this, and this is so beautiful. This is called the Sugar Lake series. I then have All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. This book has been on my shelf for so long. I don't know what it is. I read The Wall of Winnipeg and Me and I loved that book, but I think again it's a book that I sort of forget is on my shelf, but I know a lot of people love it, so I need to get to it soon. Next I have 2 Sarah Adams books. So I have Practice Makes Perfect and I have Beg, Borrow or Steal. I did recently just unhaul the cheat sheet because I know that it's a book that I'm not going to want to read. I believe these 2 are from the same series, the When in Rome series. So that's the small town. Let's get into the sports romances. Okay, so kicking off our sports romance shelf is the Playing for Keeps series by Becca Mack. I again have had these books on my shelf for so long. Again, And if you've seen my last couple of videos, you'll see that I am sort of getting a little bit tired of sports romances. I just feel like they are all very copy-paste because they are very popular and authors tend to be writing to fill the niche of what is popular, so they write in the same formula. Anyways, that being said, I've heard wonderful things about this series. Then I've got this ginormous stack. So first up, I have Slipstream. This is by Madge Merrill. This is supposed to be an F1 romance. I've only ever read one other F1 romance and it was okay, but I would like to have a good experience reading one. So that's that. This is also a newer release. I've got one that you guys know I need to read soon. It is Spiral by Bal Cabra. I loved Collide when I read it last year. I actually read it a year ago in July last year and I was so excited for this and I don't know why I haven't reached for it. It's very sad. Speaking of that F1 romance that I didn't like, I have Ride With Me by Simone Sultani. This is the second book after Cross the Line. The only reason I bought this book is because it's a marriage in Vegas. Be so for real. I have Behind the Net by Stephanie Archer. This is another series that I know is so incredibly popular. Then I only have these two because they were on special. Book 3 and 4 in the Dirty Air series, I think this is called, by Lauren Asher. I do have Throttled in the indie version somewhere. Now that they've been traditionally published and they have new covers and what have you, I've started to collect them. The only reason I own these is because they're on special. I think they got them for like $5 each. I have From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. This is actually an ice skating romance, I believe. And again, I'm scared with Mariana. I love her books. I'm a bit hesitant to pick them up for some reason. I've got First Down. This is by Grace Riley. I don't know what this series is called. The Beyond the Play series. This is football, which thank goodness, because ice hockey is getting stale. Then I have two Tessa Bailey sports romances. And you guys are gonna laugh when I show the series. It is the Big Shot series. I think that's what this series is called. I have book 1 and 3, which is Fangirl Down and Dream Girl Drama. I actually read Au Pair Affair this time last year and I loved that. I was actually kindly sent an early copy of that. I ate it up for breakfast, lunch and dinner. I really think that, you know, Tessa Bailey can be a bit hit and miss. That was like, it felt like reading OG Tessa. So I loved that so much. I bought Fangirl Down to read this and then Dream Girl Drama is the third one. So will I get to them? I hope at some point. So starting with my first little stacker, I guess, of contemporary romances, I have two books that have been on my shelf since the dinosaurs were around. I have The X Talk and Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I still have not read anything by Rachel Lynn Solomon and I have so many of her books. Oh, sorry, I also have this, which is Business or Pleasure. Again, I just have 3 of her books. I've got Not in My Book by Katie Holt. I bought this because one of my friends, Beck, was loving it and she was screaming at me saying she was annotating it. I went and bought it. She finished it and she was like, that was the worst book I've ever read. I was like, so I would like to read it at one point, see if my opinion differs from hers, but I had to laugh. I was like, girl, you just yelled at me to buy this book. Anyways, and then I have a series that I really don't know if I will ever read. It's the If Love series by Anna Huang. This is Anna Huang's debut series, if you're unaware. The covers of these are absolutely gorgeous. I've heard again that it's not that great. Okie dokes. Next up, I have a novel love story by Ashley Poston. I only recently bought this, I think. Pretty sure this is about a girl who like falls into her favorite romance book or something. I have Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto. I am so excited to read this book. Also, side note, so excited to read, is it Rose in Chains or something, her like new book that's a romantasy. I have been seeing nothing but 5-star reviews about that book. Oh my god, I saw somebody do like a collage on Instagram and I'm like, I need to read that. I've got Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I also have Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez over there, which you'll see why in the next couple of videos why it's over there. This one intrigues me the most because I know that it's got mental health representation, it's about doctors. And then I have Not Safe for Work. This is by Nisha J. Tooley. Bring back the workplace, enemies to lovers, like romances, like holiday romances. I feel like it's gonna be like the destination romances. In this little stack here, I have Give Me Butterflies by Gillian Meadows. I've actually had like literally you guys messaging me the last couple of days being like, read this book, read this book. I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna get to it, I promise. I have The No Show by Beth O'Leary. This is the only Beth O'Leary book that I ended up keeping during my D-stash a couple of months ago. I have You Had Me at Allah by Alexis Daria, which I've had for such a long time. I think I've had this book for probably 3 years. It's such a cute cover. I don't know what my hesitancy is. And then I have Make Me Yours by Melanie Harlow. This is the third Melanie Harlow book that I own. I've read the first two and I loved them, so I'm very excited. This is he's my brother's best friend, the hot single dad next door, and it's like the wrong number. Next ginormous stack. We have Story of My Life by Lucy Score. Again, my bestie Beck said you need to read this, and I really do. Just anytime she says, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm on board. Next I have Close Protection. This is by Eden Victoria, lovely Eden, who obviously you guys might know from BookTube or Book Talk. This is a bodyguard romance, which you guys know I love. The only reason I'm like a bit sus about reading this is because it's apparently new adult, which is fine. I just think like with a bodyguard romance, usually it's more adult, and I think it's putting me off. It shouldn't, but you guys know I'm not a massive fan of young adult romance. Two more Tessa Bailey books that I do not think I'll ever read, but I'm keeping them anyways, is Chase Me and Need Me. This is the Broke and Beautiful series. I've got Last Time We Met. This is by Emily Houghton. My friend Brady and I bought this probably again 2 to 3 years ago. We were gonna buddy read it. Has that happened yet? No. So I have the Red, White and Royal Blue knockoff, Falling Hard for the Royal Guard. This is by Megan Clausen. Tell me that cover is not giving you Red, White and Royal Blue. This literally says, perfect for fans of Red, White and Royal Blue. Then I have Plot Twist by Ellen La Rosa. This is Two Rival Writers, of course, so it's gonna eat regardless. I've got Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. This is on my 25 books that I need to read in 2025 because again, I've had it for 37,000 years. Then I have Fan Service by Rosie Dunnan. I've actually read nothing by this author before, so from what I heard when I was like buying this book and when I read the back, it sounds really cool. And like werewolf, I haven't read too many werewolf romances before. And then I have Enchanted to Meet You by Cara Stout. It says eyes on the prize, not on the prince. Pretty sure this is about like two theme park employees, and I'm gonna show you the cover and I'm not gonna explain why I bought it. You know why I bought this book. You know I bought this book. So next up, I have You with a View. This is by Jessica Joyce, and also The X-Files by Jessica Joyce. I've heard nothing but good things, especially about The X-Files. So many of you guys have told me how much you loved this. So I've got The Nanny by Lana Ferguson, which again, I've had forever. This is a single dad and the nanny, but I'm pretty sure she's like a spicy creator, if you catch my drift, and he's watched her stuff before. I have The Partner Plot, which I'm so giddy to read. Again, I've tried to read this so many times this year, but for some reason, I just haven't got around to it. The timing must not be right. This is again an accidental marriage in Vegas and childhood friends to lovers. And then two Tessa Baileys. I have Secretly Yours and Unfortunately Yours. Again, I bought these a long time ago. The only reason I haven't unhauled these is because I've heard great things about Unfortunately Yours, but terrible things about Secretly Yours, and I have to read this before this. So you catch my drift. Next up is 1,000 Broken Pieces by Tilly Cole. I read 1,000 Boy Kisses 2 years ago. I loved it. It ruined my life. I don't think I'll ever read a sadder book in my life, and that's why I've been really scared to read the sequel. I have Promise Me Not by Megan Brandy, which is the sequel to, what is that book even called? Say You Swear, the football college romance. I loved that book. I really did cry. I just don't know why. I think this came out like last year maybe. I have not read it yet, obviously. I have The Summer We Fell by Elizabeth O'Rourke. I again have sort of been saving this for summer. I've got Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young, which is the second book after Out on a Limb. This follows the main character's friends from the first book. Then I have Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is the next cab off the rank. I'm trying to read Emily Henry's books in order, obviously excluding Great Big Beautiful Life, which I was very kindly sent an early copy of this year. But I'm trying to work through her books before I buy them all at once. Her books are okay for me. They average between that 3.5 to 4-star rating, but I've heard equally great and not so great things about Happy Place, so I want to form my own opinion on it. I've got Raiders of the Lost Heart. This is by Joe Segura. Look how cute. I'm pretty sure this is like archaeologists, jungle exploring, enemies to lovers. And then I have Hate Mail by Donna Marchetti. I think this is also like pen pals situation. And to finish off contemporary romance before we do dark romance, I have Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. And then I have June 1st by Jennifer Hartman. Okay, next up we are taking a trip to the dark side, and it's time to do my dark romances. So I've got Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue. I've heard so many great things. I then have this beautiful cover that I only recently got. It's called The Taste of an Enemy by Holly Renee. Look at that cover. It is so gorgeous. I literally bought it for the cover, so sue me. Then I have The Lies We Steal by Monty J. This is part of the Hollow Boys series, which again, I've heard wonderful things about. I've had this one for a while too, and I do need to kickstart this series. I then have Vipers and Virtuosos. This is by Savar Miller. Every time I talk about this book, it makes me giggle because it reminds me of like an episode title of Austin and Ally. If you know, you know. I've then got The Ritual and the Sinner by Chantal Tessier. I've been really scared to read this series. This, you know, obviously is a very popular series. When I was reading, you know, Haunting and Hunting Adeline, these were like the next best thing. I don't know why I didn't reach for them after The Cat and Mouse Duet. I guess I was like so consumed by that world that I did not get around to them. And then I have this beautiful edition of You're So Dead to Me by Stephanie Holmes. I actually think I'm going to move this up to my spooky shelf because this is definitely like a Halloween themed book. It is about ghosts. It's the first book in the Grimdale Graveyard Mysteries. Up next, I have some Sierra Simone. I've got Praise and Eyes on Me from the Salacious Players Club. I've read Praise. I started Eyes on Me, but I have not finished it. I have The Beast and the Sea Witch by Katie Robert. These are obviously inspired by our favorite Disney villains and what have you. And then the only H.D. Carlton book that I have not yet read, which is Shallow River, which was her debut novel. I love everything that she's written. I just think she's such a, I don't know, like I know her like books are popular, but she's so good at what she does. So I do want to read this one soon. Up next, I've got some books by Tate James. I don't know what this series is called. Oh, there we go. The Madison Kate series. So I have Kate, Liar, and Fake. Yeah, I don't have book 4, which is called Kate. I've got Leather and Lark by Bryn Weaver. You guys might know that I didn't love Butcher and Blackbird. It was okay. Like it was a 4-star, but again, Marriage of Convenience, I think it's gonna eat. Then I have Five Brothers by Penelope Douglas. Sue me. I really like Penelope Douglas's books, but we'll see how I feel about this one because I've just recently discovered that I don't love Why Choose anymore. And finally, to finish off dark romance, I have Priest, Sinner, and Saint by Sierra Simone. Actually DNF'd Priest, but I've heard that Sinner and Saint are so fabulous. Next up is the start of my LGBTQ section. So I have The House in the Cerulean Sea. I don't know why I keep forgetting I have this book on my shelf. I feel like once we get to like this shelf down, I just forget that I own half of these books. I have The Only Light Left Burning. This is by Eric J. Brown. I read All That's Left in the World whenever that released. My bestie and I read that. We loved it. It's such a great book. But then I read this other book called Lose You to Find Me and I hated that book, unfortunately. So that's been on the back burner because of that. I then have Cemetery Boys. This is by Aiden Thomas. Again, I think this is ghost, so it could potentially fall into that Halloween section, but you get the drill. Then I have The Rules of Royalty. This is by Cale Detrick. This is giving me red wine royal blue. And if I'm not a simple gal, if I don't love a little copy paste, then somebody has, you know, stolen my identity. So then I have The New Guy. This is by Serena Bowen, excuse me. This is a sports romance, but it's MM, so I've put it in this section. I then have A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, which somebody in my book club actually said in the chat the other day that they read this and they loved it, and I need to, because look how brown the pages are. It's quite old. It's like when I used to use the TBR cart, you can see the sun, the sunburn it's got. I've got Something Fabulous by Alexis Hall. I've just realized in doing this that I have some MM historical romances up there, and these two probably also belong up there. I've got The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. Speaking of red, white, and royal blue, this was a DNF for me last year, but it was a soft DNF because I think I wasn't in the right frame of mind for it. I've got also I Kiss Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. This is Casey's YA debut, and I feel like I haven't seen too many people talking about it. And then I have this book that I found. That I've had nobody talk about. It's called The Alchemy of Moonlight. This is by David Ferraro. Love triangle werewolves, I want to say. Werewolves in Regency era. I then have Pole Position. This is by Rebecca J. Caffrey, which is another F1 romance, and again, MM. I've got A Marvelous Light. This is by Freya Mask. I would like to say is how you say their name. I have Best Men by Sydney Carger. I then have Wolf Song by TJ Klune. This is just a big one. It's a big boy, so it's been putting me off. And finally, in this little section before we move on to thrillers, I have When Haru Was Here by Dustin Thau, which is the second book after You've Reached Sam, which I read maybe 3 years ago, and I love that book so much. It holds such a special spot in my heart. Next up is thrillers. I think I only had like 11 or so. You guys know I've been really loving the thrillers as of late, so the shelf's looking a little bit empty. The first couple that I have here, I have Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. I read Rock Paper Scissors earlier this year and I didn't love it, so it sort of put me off reading her other books. I know I got to keep giving her another try, of course. I then have No Place Left to Hide. This is by Megan Lally. You guys know I read That's Not My Name and I love that book so much. I bought this one straight away because I just loved her writing. However, this is about a car chase and car chases really freak me out in books. I don't know what it is and they freak me out a lot. Then I have The Perfect Child by Lucinda Berry. You guys will have seen in my June reading wrap up, I just read When She Returned and I hated it to be nice. I did not like that book, but a lot of you have said that her other books are really genius and to not give up on her books, so I won't. I do want to read this again during spooky season. Then I have This Stays Between Us. This is by Margot McGovern. Funnily enough, in my In Real Life book club that I am a part of as well, it's run by somebody else. She was telling me that she'd love this, which is not great, so yay. I've got Hide and Seek by Andrea Mara. I am so excited to read this. I'm pretty sure this is about a little girl who goes missing in a house. This is supposed to be a horror. This is Claimed by Gertrude Barrett Bennett. I have The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I, again, don't typically reach for YA. However, I've been enjoying a lot of YA thrillers and YA romantasy. I then have The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I read Home Before Dark last month, I think it was. Loved it. It was my very first Riley Sager book. The only reason I've put this one off is because people told me it's very similar to, I think, either The Silent Patient or Verity. I then have The Party. This is by Natasha Preston. I randomly picked this up. I've never seen it before, but I love like a girls' weekend gone wrong type of vibe. I've got Wrong Place, Wrong Time. This is by Gillian McAllister. This is, I'm pretty sure, about a mother who witnesses her son off somebody and then the next day she wakes up trying to figure out like how she's going to sort this out, but it's the day before the murder, so she's going to figure out how she can try and stop her son from doing it. I think that's gonna be so good. I then have The Blonde Dies First, which is giving me high school slasher vibes, like, you know what I mean, high school spooky movie slasher vibes. Definitely another one for Halloween time. This is by Joelle Wellington. I've got The Inmate by Frida McFadden. This is my last Frida McFadden on my physical TBR. That's not to say I've read everything else by her, but a lot of her stuff's on Kindle Unlimited now, so I'm gonna read them there first before I buy the physicals. And then I have Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. I've also not read anything by Lisa Jewell before either, so again, very interested to see what I think of her writing. Okay, next up is the start of the fantasy slash romantasy shelf. So I have a very, very long veteran of the TBR shelf, which is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This is a book that I bought because it was popular and I didn't really know much about it before I did so, which was very silly. Again, I bought it many, many years ago and I just don't have any actual intrigue to read it. So if somebody would like to give me a selling point, that'd be amazing. I then have The Spell Shop. This is by Sarah Beth Durst. I literally can't wait to read this book. Again, I always forget that it's on my shelf. It's just gonna give me cozy romantasy and I can't wait. I then have The Crimson Moth and the Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. I know that they are incredibly popular. Then I have this book called The Stars Are Dying. This is a, what is this, a Nightfall novel by Chloe C. Penardina, potentially. When I bought this book, I'd heard nothing about it, but since then I've started to see a bit of hype for it on socials. Another book that I don't think I've ever seen anybody read, it's called The Empress. This is by Kristen Karst. Pretty sure this is like about tarot cards and things like that, which really intrigues me. I've not read anything like this before. Up next, I have Blood Over Bright Haven. I have started to see such great things about this book. I did a collaboration with Dimmix and TikTok end of last year, early this year, where 10 BookTokers basically chose their favorite books, and one of the girls recommended this, but I've then just now started to see such great things about it, so let me know if you guys have read it. I have Iron and Embers. This is by Helen Shearer, potentially. This is The Ashes and the Thesma. Ashes of Thesma. Book 1. I have Six Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent. This is a little novella that was supposed to go in between The Serpent and the Wings of Night and The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. Did I read it? No. I should have, but guys, I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I finished it and was obsessed with it, and I literally ran to the bookstore to get the next one immediately. And I didn't realize there was something in between. So I finished it. I then have just recently read the third one, and to go back now, I mean, actually let me know if you guys have read it. Is it worth picking it up after I've finished with it? I then have The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owen, sorry. I know that the next one of this comes out very, very, very soon. So hopefully I get to it before then. Actually, what's good is I kind of like reading books a little bit late, because what ended up happening with The Songbird and the Heart of Stone, the next book in that series comes out like next month. So I've read that one, and then I'm ready for, you know, book 4. I have Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. You guys know Cassandra Clare is one of my favorite authors, especially when I was younger, like when I was a teenager. The whole Shadowhunters Chronicles, like Infernal Devices and everything, holds such a special spot in my heart. So to see her write an adult romantasy, I'm just very excited to see where she goes with it. And then I have Prince of Fortune. This is by Lisa Tirano. Again, this is probably one that I've got to rearrange my shelves, you guys. It should be in the MM section. Okay, next up I have, God, guys, my hair. Can you guys tell it's hair wash day? Next up I have One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I know this is a gothic fantasy, which is exciting because I've never read a gothic fantasy before. I then have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is by Heather Fawcett. This whole series just seems, again, like one of those really cozy fantasies that I feel like is just going to be a nice palette cleanser. A newer one to my collection is Dreams Lie Beneath. This is by Rebecca Ross, who of course is the author of Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. Then I have The Baby Dragon Cafe. This is by A.T. Queerish, I would like to say. Again, this just looks so cute. It's really tiny. I then have The Book of Azriel. This is by Amber V. Nicole. I feel like I'm the last person on the planet to read this. Like, I just haven't read it yet. I know it's really popular. I know that there's going to be more series in this. What is it? Gods and Monsters series. Yeah, again, maybe this is something that I reach for around that end of year time. I then have The Bridge Kingdom. This is by Danielle L. Jensen. This is another very popular series that I just haven't got around to yet, unfortunately. I then have Legendborn. This is by Tracy Dion, sorry. This was a book that I actually saved from a D stash maybe last year because so many of you guys were saying how much you love this book. I then have this book called Fallen Academy. This is by Layla Stone. I've never heard of this before. I haven't heard of this author before. I can't even remember why I bought it, to be honest with you, but I did, so I need to read it at some point. I then have King of Battle and Blood. This is by Scarlett St. Clair, which funnily enough, I was just sent a Scarlett St. Clair PR box yesterday. I'll put it on the screen. I haven't read anything by her before, but I've heard wonderful things, and I know this series is quite large. Another Scarlett St. Clair, Apples Dipped in Gold, which I'm pretty sure was giving like Snow White type of inspiration. I know that she does take a lot of her inspiration from like the old myths and fairy tales and what have you. Oh yeah, there you go. A fairy tale retelling. It's right there on the cover, Belle. Then I have 3 books in. I don't know what this series is called. The Ladies Wisteria or something. These are all by India Holton. Okay, rounding out Romantasy. I'm not going to pull them off the shelves, but I do have the entire Throne of Glass series, as you guys know, and also Crescent City. So I've read ACOTAR. I've read the first 2 books in Throne of Glass. I'm slowly working my way through that. I just don't feel like pulling off like 20 books and then lugging them back on when you guys know what I'm going on about. But the next one that I have is Wings of Starlight. This is by Alison Saft. Guys, this is healing my inner child. Was anybody else a Pixie Hollow girl when they were a kid? Like, I used to play on that website all the time. I'm so excited to read this. I then have Akane by Lynette Noni. I've heard some really wonderful things about this series. Lynette Noni is obviously an Australian author, so would love to read this at some point. I then have Phantasma. This is by Kaylee Smith. I know that the next one's out, and I think there's another one potentially coming after that. I've got Throne of the Fallen. This is by Kerry Maniscalco, another series that is so popular now. I believe there are more books coming out. Then I have Half a Soul. This is by Olivia Atwitter. This was like sold to me as like Bridgerton meets Faye, which it's like 2 of my favorite things, you know, merging together. And finally for Romantasy, I have How Does It Feel? This is by Janine O'Reilly. It's the Infatuated Faye book 1. I believe there's now like 4 books in this series, I'd like to say. Before I show you my general fiction, there's a couple romances that I forgot, but I do also need to show you guys my ARC card. But the 2 that I forgot were sort of hiding down the bottom. I have You Should Be So Lucky by Kat Sebastian, which is an like reporter and baseball player. And then this beautiful YA book, it's called Run Away With Me by Brian Selznick. this just looks so gorgeous, you guys. I only bought this recently and there are like pictures in here. Oh, I feel like it's gonna remind me of something like the Song of Achilles. Not in the sense of like it being a historical fiction, but it being like set in Rome, like you get the, whatever, you get the drift. Then I have The Nightingale. This is by Kristen Hanna. I've not read anything by her before, but I just have heard such wonderful things. I then have this random copy of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, which I know is a classic, I think. Holland's Classics. Ariana, what are you doing? Normal People by Sally Rooney scares the living daylights out of me. I just don't know why. I know that everyone really loves the show, but what are you gonna do? Then I have If We Were Villains. This is by ML Rio. This one has been on the shelf for many, 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 many years. I don't think this is general fiction. I think this is like dark academia. I don't know why it ended up in this pile, but whoops. And then I have this huge book that I really don't think I'll ever read because I've already watched the show. It's called The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett, which is a historical fiction, not a historical romance. A book that really intrigues me and was also again on that book talker list that I was on earlier this year. It's called Evenings and Weekends. This is by Boyson McKenna, sorry. This just has a really interesting concept. So again, when I'm feeling like a general fiction, I really need to reach for this. I've got What Does It Feel Like? This is by Sophie Kinsella. My bestie Lucy actually read this and she loved it. She was like, you need to read it. So of course, I'm gonna back the girlies. I've got Jaded by Ella Lee, another one that I think was also on that list from earlier this year. I've got 2 books by Coco Malors. I have Cleopatra and Frankenstein, and I have Blue Sisters. I bought this one for myself a while ago. This was also on that list I was on. This one intrigues me a lot. I think it's about 4 sisters or 3 sisters that end up returning to New York after one of their sisters passed away. I have Taboo. This is by Hannah Ferguson. Oh, and a little things come out. So that would be really interesting to read as well. And finally for the shelf, I have Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. I've heard this book fall into so many different categories. I've just put it with the general fiction, non-fiction stuff, but we'll see what it ends up being when I read it. So let's take a trip over to my TBR cart for the rest of the video. Okay, friends, welcome to my like messy sit down area where my little TBR cart, like I was saying, I do have this lovely shelf here that I had to purchase in Easter time, I think this year, because obviously that shelf is just so jam-packed that I obviously needed a place for all of my books I was sent or ARCs because there's no room, but also at least this helps remind me, I guess, what I need to get through that I've been sent. Any ARCs I get sent, I usually prioritize them. The rest are ones I've very been kindly gifted that I need to get through when I get the time. So this is just my TBR for the month of July. I have Silver Elite, Metal Slinger, If Anything Happens to Me, Tough Love, Write Me For You, which was sent by Penguin, My Big Fat Fake Marriage, and Releasing 10. I then have this really cute book that I was sent by Penguin. This is called Silver Cloak by L.K. Stephen. I've never heard of this book before. I've never heard of this author before, I don't believe either. And the concept just sounds really good. Also, it came with a personalized note in the little box as well. Yeah, I kept it with me because Penguin always send the most beautiful handwritten notes. So I'm very excited for that. God of Wrath, sorry, by Rena Kent, which was sent in a PR box that Penguin did. They have a new division called Evermore, which is like a romance division. I then very kindly had one of my now close besties, Mads Rafferty, send me her Romantasy book series. This is the Heir of Broken Fates trilogy. Mads has just recently moved very close to me. She did send this to me before that, but she's honestly one of the sweetest gals in the whole world, and she writes romantasy, romance, thrillers. She writes a little bit of everything, so definitely go and support her and check out her stuff. Then I have another ARC I was sent. This is called Game On by Kai Stevens. It's giving like high school quarterback and the cheerleader vibes. I've got another book by India Holton. That's what I was saying over there. I swear I had another India Holton. This is the Geographer's Map to Romance. I actually haven't read the first book in this series, but Penguin again very kindly sent this through to me. I've got Wolf by Paisley Hope. As I was saying, she did send me some other of her books as well, and she signed all of them. She is just such a sweetheart and I love her to pieces. I've got Secrets by Sophie Grace, and I also have an ARC of Dance of Lies by Brittany Arena, which I really need to get to, guys. I feel so bad. There's so many books to read and so, just not enough time in the day. God, that was heavy to turn around. Final part of the shelf here. I do have a couple of romance books over there that I'm using for a video. Like I was saying earlier, I'm not going to tell you what they are because you're just going to have to wait for the reading vlog to see see what they are. I have Of Jade and Dragons by Amber Chen. I do feel really bad. I've had this sitting around for a really long time. This has now obviously been published. It's a beautiful book. I just need to get to it. I have another Sarah Kate. This is Keep Me. Oh my God, is that a picture? Oh, I never saw that. Oh, wait, I love that. That's so cute. I've got these 3 books by Abby Glines. It's Smoke Show, Smoke Bomb, and Fireball. I believe these are dark cowboy romances, which again sounds right up my alley. I have a copy of A Tribute of Fire by Sarah Wilson. Sarah actually sent this to me, goodness, when it first came out last year. I think this was published. I know that there's another one out in the series now, 2024. Yeah, so again, I'm very late on this one. I have Sand, Sequins, and Silicone. This is by Pia Mia, the singer. So if you guys know the singer, she wrote a book as well. And then I have King of Nothing by Paula Dombrowick, which we do love a billionaire romance. And the last couple here, I will just pull off. Overexposed. This is by Tate James and Heather Long. I have Riftborn by Greenwich and Lennox, which is on my 25 books to read in 2025 as well. I have Dear Reader by Tate James, which I'm really excited to read. This one, I think it's also signed. It is. I've got an arc of the, I've always forgot what this is called, Among the Burning Flowers by Samantha Shannon. If you know the series, you will know. This comes out in September this year. And finally, I have The Favorites by Lane Fargo. I've heard nothing but wonderful things about this. Again, I was sent this a couple of months ago. I just haven't got around to it. I promise you guys I read the books I'm sent. I just get sent so many at the moment that it's hard to keep up. So those are all of the books on my physical TBR. Alrighty, you guys, that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for sticking through all the way to the end. If you did, I really, really appreciate it. Let's move my physio ropes out of the way, shall we? How many books are on your physical TBR? I would love to know. Like I said to you guys, I fully thought we were going to have a bit of a lighter situation when I came back to do this again, but I guess I've accumulated even more, but that's fine. But yeah, I'd love to know, I guess, how many you guys have on your shelves and what your most anticipated book is on your TBR. As always, if you guys aren't already, you're more than welcome to follow me on my socials. I'll leave my handles on the screen and down in the description box. And if you'd like to, you can like this video and subscribe to my channel, and make sure you are hitting that notification bell. That way you're notified each time a brand new video goes up. Thank you guys so much for stopping by again. I truly appreciate it. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you are having a lovely day or a lovely night, and I shall see you guys next time. Bye.